I just have one more question, kind of along those lines of I think that was a beautiful story of a one-on-one kind of more intimate conversation. And I'm wondering, do you see any openings or opportunities to scale transformative encounters or dialogues between people who are agitated and roiling from different sides to come together in some way to kind of scale this de-escalation at a community-wide level or at a more group to group level other than just through one-on-one conversations? And if so, what would that look like to you?
I'm grateful for that question. I feel that if that opportunity did not begin with a mindfulness exercise or a meditation, if that wasn't forthcoming, that we would start the conversation, the dialogue, in a broader, softer sense that didn't include how we are different. And then to start to illuminate one after another using examples, very practical examples of what would our ideal life, what would ideal culture look like? Write those out, have them see in their own words written out. Um, what is a beautiful life to you? And what does it mean to you to have a family, to have children, um, to have a particular kind of community? And hear that from different people, and then see and draw those connections where you have so much in common. And if we could only just put our attention on that, but that also has to be infused with a sense of non-resistance, to be open to the dialogue for the sake of dialogue, to be open to listening for the sake of listening, to be open to meditation for its own sake, and really to ultimately be open to love for its own sake. And so, even though naturally part of the dialogue is going to be about the differences or whatever grievances they came to the meeting to address or to be heard, we'll give that some space. But what's really the engine behind it all is not to solve a problem, but to come to a deeper understanding.
I love that vision. Um, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting about this project that we're on, that we started with this kind of very, I don't know, glamorous isn't the right word, dramatic notion of stopping political violence or interrupting political violence, but it's really shifted to a mindfulness project, helping people to sort of understand their own thinking patterns and interrupt them. Whether that's, maybe I shouldn't build this bomb, on one end of the spectrum, but the other is just, the places where we escalate and, could be just sitting in front of the computer thinking I need to bite back at this person on this topic, and being able to stop. Just the value of being able to kind of stop and investigate why do I need to do this? What am I going to get out of this? What's the impulse, and what's the end game? And so these conversations have been so illuminating, because we're not only kind of talking about the folks that we're hoping don't go into the world of violence, but I think a lot of this on this project we've been sort of applying to our own lives, our own interactions, our own, face to face and online interactions, and figuring out how to better be in relation to other people. So
Yeah.
I really
And
appreciate your
that's,
perspective.
yeah, it really comes down to redirecting one's attention to their own desires, motivations, as you say, impulses, and really ask those deeper questions. What brought you to this understanding? How did you get to this conclusion? And then explore that pathway with them openly
Yeah.
is, to me, the most effective path. What on the surface, to ask myself the question is, we would call that self-inquiry, but we can apply that same principle to dialogue with others as a collective inquiry.
Yeah, it has sort of a double benefit. It not only can work with the intended goal, which is to reduce violence in society, but also to help us better walk through our lives with other people. Those moments where we, get triggered or where we go into an emotional state and then later are filled with regret. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? I wish I could go back in time. And then I always end up singing some Cher. If I could turn back time, as my little mantra. I'm trying to take out the need for Cher in my life. And not that anyone should not need Cher, but just that song is a reoccurring meme in my head because I want to go back in time and fix something. Just don't go down that road, and then you don't need Cher to sing to you.
Right. I
If that
think a
makes
big
any
part of it,
sense.
it does, absolutely. I think a big part of that, what you're sharing, and going back to what Ryan had just inquired about, is that there's a pain. And if we don't acknowledge that there's a pain, then we're in avoidance.
Yeah.
And avoidance is just another form of resistance. And so instead of trying to avoid what is, we accept it. In fact, we can embrace that this is the pain that has arisen. This is the apparent conflict. And let's explore the conflict instead of trying to anesthetize ourselves from it. Yeah. Otherwise, all we've done is put a Band-Aid on the situation.
Right. And the suffering continues. And we can't figure out why we continue to suffer.